Hello and welcome to the instructions for the second lab, the measurement lab. And you will have two different parts to this lab as well. And then you will have a bunch of calculations to do at the end with your measurements that you are going to be making. The first part, and I hope you can see it, I did not have a chance to print this lab out before I did this video. So for the first part here, you will take a textbook, any textbook will do, any book actually, and you will measure the length of it both in the metric and in the English measurements. The metric will be, so if you have a ruler, typically all rulers will have centimeters as well as inches, so you will measure it in centimeters, which will go under the metric system, and in the English you will put the inches. Then you will take 1 cup of water, and you will figure out how many milliliters, because that's the metric system unit, how many milliliters will there be in a cup of water by using the graduated cylinder that came with your lab kit. You will have to do this several times because your graduated cylinders only measure to 50 milliliters. When you are done figuring those out, just enter those values in the table here. Okay. Then for the next part, you will be figuring out the density of the pennies. You will have to choose all pennies either dated prior to 1983 or after 1983. And you have 0 through 30 pennies that you will, so get at least 25 to get good data. For the first part, the first column over here, where it says mass of pennies, you will take 5 pennies and you will weigh them on your scale and then record the mass. Then you will move to the next, so take 5 more pennies and add them to those first 5, and that makes 10 pennies. Record the mass, write it down, and you will do this all the way to 30 pennies. Then you will take the graduated cylinder, add about 20 milliliters of water, and record that where it says volume in milliliters under 0 pennies. That will be your initial volume. And then you will take 5 pennies, add it to that 20 milliliters. The volume will go up a little bit because of the pennies. You record the volume of 5 pennies right there. You'll add another 5 pennies to that initial 5 to make 10 pennies. The volume will rise again. You will write that volume under the volume for 10 pennies, and so on and so forth. Then when you go to calculate the volume of pennies over here, you will take the difference between the volume of the 5 pennies, for example, minus the initial volume of 0 pennies, and then you will enter that number right here by the 5 pennies. You will keep doing that. So for 10 pennies, you take the volume for 10 pennies minus the initial volume of 0 pennies. And you'll keep doing that till you are through with the 30 pennies. You will record all of those in this volume of pennies over here. When you're done with that, then you will calculate the density of the pennies. The density, as you see here, is given as in grams per milliliter. So you will take the mass, basically, the mass of the pennies in grams, and divide it by the volume of the pennies in milliliters. The light isn't the best. So you will take the mass of the pennies and divide it by the volume of the pennies over here. So the second column divided by the fourth column to give you the densities in grams per milliliter. Then you will take the average values of all the densities and record it down here where it says average density.